Alright guys, it's been quite a while since I've released any YouTube tutorials, but I'm trying to get back into it. Today we're going to start off with this track that I recently released in the past year. It's a little bit of a more modern vibe, and I think it would be cool to break it down a little, get a different flavor compared to all the other tutorials. So here's a quick listen. Yeah, so that sounds like something you'd be interested in understanding how it was made. You're at the right place. So let's go ahead and break this down. We'll break it down track by track. Alright, so it looks like the first track, we got just a rain sample that I recorded at my house on our tape recorder. Let's have a listen. Alright, so I have the width set to super wide as it could go. I have a high pass filter at about 700 hertz and some reverb. Alright, without the high pass, obviously it's going to be a lot more muddy and sounds we don't want, but I just wanted it there for some ambience. Right, the reverb's just adding some depth to it. You can hear it in the mix there. So. Right, I put it there mostly because the song kind of had like a, I don't know, when I hear it, especially that intro, it sounds like there's some waterfalls going on, some kind of exotic jungle shit. I don't know, but it actually fit in good and helped create a different sound for the intro. Alright, so next we'll go to the bass. Solo it by itself. Yeah, so a pretty basic bass line, right? So this one's going to be made with Silent. So what I did was pitch the octave down 2 octaves on each oscillator. Detune the first one with 8 voices about halfway, so you'll hear what kind of effect that gives right here. Right? So the detuning kind of gives that width. Second oscillator has a little bit of detuning, and they're both saw waves, right? Boom, easy. And then on the filter, I have it cut off at about, I have a low pass at 27 hertz. All right, so you can kind of hear what this is doing. Here, I'll take off the low pass. Yeah, so you could hear that it pretty much gets rid of all that high end, just makes it sound like a super low, wide bass, and that's what I was going for. And for the bass, that's pretty much all that's here. Let's go down and see what effects we have on it. So we have this EQ. I'll take the EQ off. So that's like the raw sound of it. So I kind of just tamed it. You can see I did a big cut right here at 100 hertz, around there. If I take that off, kind of just a little too boomy. It just tames it right there. And again, I have a low pass around 600 hertz just to make sure none of that high-end stuff's coming through. And behind it I have a compressor, just taming it, making the bass a little more even and constant, right, if I take it out. Yeah, it just fattens it up a little bit. Then after that I have a side chain, hitting it pretty hard on the kick. So right here we go to drum rack, right? Under that, pre-effects on the kick. So now whenever the kick hits, it's gonna drop the tone of the bass. Wait, did I screw that up? Oh, there's no kick at that part. But yeah, you can see it right here coming in. If I unmute the drums, you'll hear it. You can see it in action right there, giving like that pumping sound. Really like sidechain bass, so kind of abuse it sometimes, but I think it worked out pretty well on this track. So yeah, that's it for that bass for the most part. Let's see what this is. So it's like a little synth melody, right, that I came up with. Just going along the back of that. So what I used here is one of my, if you've watched my other tutorials, is from one of my tape sampled synths. So let's see what this sounds like. What this sample actually sounds like when I just press a random key. Right, so it's just like a tape recorded thing. What I did was I got a synth, I pressed a C note, recorded on a tape recorder, then plugged it into the sampler, right? And now I have a tape recorded synth instrument. So that's where that sound came from. Let me play it again, boom. So we could see in the filter section, it has a lot of release, moderate, attack. And what those two things do is the attack is obviously how quickly the sound hits, well, how quickly the program reads the sample. So if I put a longer attack, it's kind of going to fade in more. If I put no attack, it's just going to pop. And I think I put that attack there most likely to avoid pops. And I don't know, it sounds a little more ambient. And the release, of course, is how long after I release the key that the sample's going to keep playing. So for like, I like to use for like these ambient-y kind of dreamy melodies, I like having a long release. So that way they kind of ring out like that. Other than that, it looks like I have a filter that's not really doing much here. Let's see. I have a spread of 9%, so the spread will kind of just widen it out. Let's see, we'll put it at 0. It's right down the middle. If I bring it back to 9, kind of widened up a little. See that? Other than that, that's about it as for that part. After this, we have a high pass filter. Right, so if I take that off, you're gonna hear a bunch of low end jump. So it just cleans it up. You know, when you're starting off, you want to get into the habit of using a lot of high pass filters because all this space right here, you want for your bass, your kick, and other low end, more low end heavy things. So it's best just to keep that area clear with unnecessary garbage like what's in there. All this trash. Yep. Alright. Then after that I have another compressor just to tame it out and a sidechain. So let me get to a part that has drums. Yep, this part does. So it's not hitting as hard as the bass was getting hit, but it's still there just to give it all, have it all like come together, you know, sound like one solid piece getting chopped by the kick. Kind of emulates like tape recordings when you have bass and kick, they kind of tend to drown out everything else, and it gives that effect. And obviously, when it comes to bass, like the low end bass and the kick, you want to have the kick be more. Well, I like having a more punchy kick. So if the bass is there and the kick and the bass are hitting in the same frequencies, they're kind of gonna drown each other out or cover each other up. So that's why I put a real heavy sidechain on the bass. Right, and then yeah, that's it for that. I think the next part is another little melody part. It's barely audible, like you don't really notice it when you're listening to the song, but when I play it right now, you'll realize. Alright. So like these two things, they're kind of playing with each other. So yeah, these two melodies are really like, you know, they're two different things, but they're playing with along with each other, like, you know, one combined little dance of notes, if you want to call it that. But if you also notice here, I have the top one pan 10 to the left and the bottom one pan 10 to the right, just to give them their own little space. And it's kind of cool because the notes are in between each other, so it's kind of like gives a wider feel in your head for what's going on. So let's see. Yeah, you can really hear it. So for this next one, let's see. Is it the same? Yeah, the same sample as the last one, but I'm pretty sure I pitched this one up an octave. Let's see what's going on. So this one is on G3. This one's like on D4. Yeah, so I pretty much went up an octave and played a different melody. And what that'll do is, because each note, right, has its own frequency field. So if you have if you try to do two melodies in the same octave, they're gonna start clashing on the same frequencies. So if you pitch one up an octave, it'll be a little bit higher, and the other one will be a little bit lower. So that'll really muddy each other up. And yeah, sounds cool. So as for this sample, let's see if I play the same thing a little bit higher. Alright, so it's just the same sample, but played a little bit higher with different notes. So, and I added some more effects, as we'll see right here. For the filter, it looks like the attack and release are the exact same. Everything here is the same, so pretty much everything on the sampler is the same as the last one. It's just how I played it on the keyboard that really made it sound different. And compressor, and this ping pong delay is probably going to have a lot to do with the sound as well. So let's hear. So you could hear it right there when I stop. That ringing out, it's not just the release, it's also this ping pong delay. So let me play without. So it stops right away. If I turn it on, you'll really hear what the ping pong delay is doing once I press pause. So giving that back and forth. The ping pong delay, what it does is it bounces things back and forth, like left and right. Can't really hear it because of the release, but it's just adding more of a tail to the whole sound, and I like how it sounds. Alright, so after that we have another high pass, just doing the same as before. We'll listen to it. And you can see that just cleaning up that mess once again on the low end. And we have a sidechain. What do you know? Probably the same exact one from before. Yep. And yeah, we have that. Let's see what this guy is. I'm not even sure. So this is a little thing I added for the outro just to give it a little bit of a something different, because you don't want to have just the same elements going throughout the whole song. You want to switch things up, take things out, like these patches here, just to keep the ear interested, the mind. Yeah, you can see I took things out, put things in. So let's hear it all together with the end of the track, so you can hear how it's kind of like an outro thing. So you get like the vibe that I was going for with that. Pretty simple, like as far as notes, just like arpeggiating something. And let's see, what do we got? Phonic. Same exact sample as the last two, right? And I do that a lot just because I feel like if I use the same kind of instrument and just play with it in different ways, the characteristics of it kind of make the characteristic of the song. You know what I mean? So it's like the same sample, but done differently, 4 different ways, 5 different ways. So we're here, boom, go to filter. So this one I kind of smashed a little bit more on the filter side just to give it more of a darker sound, because all this is high end, right? So I'm cutting it all out, especially with tape. There's gonna be a lot of hiss and stuff going on, and it also make it sound a lot different than everything else. Let me play it on its own real quick. Right, so if I take this filter off, let's see. Yeah, it just has more like of an airy kind of sound to it, like a lot of those high-end kind of frequencies. So with this one, the attack's at 0, right? So it's immediate. Release is a lot faster too. And on this one, you can really hear what the ping pong delay is doing when I just tap the note. It's going left and right, right? At a rate of what is this? I'm not sure how this is calculated. It might be like a half note or something. But a 2, whatever that means, I don't know. I know a 3 is triplet, a 4 is quarter note. Yeah, it's probably a half note, I'm assuming. So yeah, and I have the feedback on that. The feedback's gonna be like how long it rings out for, and the dry wet is how noticeable it is, I would say. Right, so also what I noticed on this is I have portamento going. So what the portamento does is when I change keys, it kind of gives it that sliding sound. Alright, if I take that off, so you can hear the difference. It's kind of sliding up and down. So it, again, changes the characteristic. The spread on this is really wide. So I like using the spread a lot on different things at different lengths, different percentages, just to make some things wide, some things smaller. So I wanted this to be more of a wide kind of big sound, so I made it wider. And again, we have the high pass filter cutting out all the garbage, and the sidechain and a compressor. All right, there's that sound. Cool, let's move on to the next thing. Let's see what this is. Looks like a pad. So that's cool. That's probably what I started the song out with. Usually I start off with like a pad, chords, and then build all these other things on top of it. So that one's made with Silent and looks like a pretty simple chain of effects here. Where the real magic happens is in here, right? So again, I have saw wave, 8 voices. On the second one, I have nothing going on, it has 0 voices, right? So let's play with this. a really cool sound. So what most of this is that detune again. That'll go take you a long way. It'll make you go from, which is a cool sound too. And then when I bring that detune back up, and you can kind of hear like a phasing thing going on. It's because it's detuning, right? So the notes and the frequencies are kind of like having a phasing effect on each other. And that's what makes it sound wider. And yeah, for the most part, whoa, what is that key stuck? That was weird. For the most part, that's pretty much all that's going on this, right? I think what's really lending to it is the chords here. So what do I have? C and E. Let's go up octave. So it's just, yeah, it's just something. Most of the time, because I don't play keyboard, I play guitar, and I kind of know some music theory. But most of the time, I just play with things until something cool happens, right? So, I mean, there's not much. It's not like I planned this out, wrote a paper, and on a piece of paper, like what this song's going to sound like and what elements and notes are going to be in it. It's not like that. It's more I just play with silent, get a cool sound where I'm like, play with it. Oh, okay, I feel like this will make something cool. Then I just start playing with notes. It's like that little thing right there that I just played randomly. That's like how I make songs. Oh, record that and then start building off that. So one secret, I guess, or not really a secret, but a cheating kind of lame way in what I do to make melodies and pads on keyboard, since I'm not a keyboardist, is I'll just stay on the white keys. As you can see here, that's what that is. So you're staying in the same scale, in the same key, and it's kind of an easy way of not having to learn complicated scales where you're incorporating all the other keys. But that's just how I do it. I don't know. So that same thing too with the sidechain and a compressor, just to balance it out. See what's next over here. Alright, so this is another like little ambient background kind of sound that blends in with these other two yellow ones. And I can hear something kind of cool going on with this one. It's using the same exact tape sample, right? Go to the filter and what we got going on with the filter. So I brought the filter down really low to 659 hertz. Then on this one I use the filter envelope. So what the filter envelope does is it's basically a controller for this filter. So if I set this kind of attack, what's going to happen is this dot is going to move and open up the filter, right? Every time I hit the key. So that's why it has that kind of whoosh, build up kind of sound. Let me play it. Wait, where is it? There it is. Like you could hear how the high end comes in. And that's what that is. It's pretty much opening the filter with whatever I set this attack to. If I set it lower, it's going to open it like right away. That might be cool for bassline. Alright, boom. Let me put it back to where it was before I screw up the song. So it's at 946. So that's just a cool little effect to do to give it its own little character. Cool, so we have that, and then I have also another filter going on the actual sample itself. So the attack here, this is more like a, I guess, amplitude filter. So yeah, it's adjusting how fast the sound comes in as a whole and releasing. So it has a long release, a pretty kind of, it's like a medium attack. Right, and that just lends to the filter envelope attack. Same thing. As far as modulation and pitch, we do have a wide spread on that one, so not much difference there. As you can see, when I make songs, I don't really get too in-depth, and a lot of it's copy and paste and screw with this more, make it sound different, create another melody on top. It seems to be working. So again, another high pass filter. And then we have a reverb, a pretty long reverb, 4 seconds. Yeah, you can really hear it with a pretty good amount of wetness, 40%. And then just another sidechain. So let's hear it all together, see if you can notice that. I think we could notice it more is at the end. You can't even really hear it. But sometimes it just adds like that ambience, like that, just that tail, having it there adds to the whole harmonic soup that's going on. But yeah, there's that. Let's see what's next over here. And that's just a blank track. Let's see what that was. It's a cool sound. Shoot, might use that in a different song. But anyways, we'll turn that off. Let's go over here. What's this guy doing? Cool, so just a little stab, just adding to all the chords going on in this one on the pad. It's just having more attack, more just stabbing at it, right? So let's play those two together, see how they sound. Yeah, so let's see. I like that you could do this with the new Ableton. All right. So I'm pretty sure what these chords are doing. Where is it? Boom. How do I select both? Yeah. Yeah, so it's just using the same chords. Boom. You could see like the two bluish dots. That's what the bottom one's playing. So it's just borrowing from the top pad and bouncing around from each of those. Boom. Just to reinforce those chords. So let's see what's going on in there. So we have silent again, right? Boom. Pretty same thing that was going on before. 8 voices, detuned a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, that's the right one. Except on this one, what else I have that's different? Well, you see the attack here, and the release is really long. But we also have on oscillator 2, it's boosted up an octave with 8 voices and a sine wave. So that's just adding more of a layer to it. If I take out all these voices, that's without it. And if I add them back, it's just making it more thick. And like, you know, when you have different waves going on, it just gives it just a bigger sound. And you pitch it up and it's going to give it more characteristic that'll make it sound different and do what you want. So for this, I wanted it to be like a stab, right? So now on the cutoff, we have it at 19 hertz, so it's really chopping. But the reason for that is right here on the envelope, I have it set to the cutoff. So this is affecting this knob. The attack is super quick. So what it's doing is it's making this knob basically go. But since my attack's really high on the amplitude on the amp envelope, you can't really hear it. But if I do this, you really hear what this is doing. And that's why I do like those stabs. Alright, but I guess it probably sounded bad like that, so I softened it up. And yeah, so to do that in silent, click on here, go to cutoff, boom. So now this is affecting cutoff. And you can do it for like almost any knob on this whole thing, which is pretty cool. Yeah, and we have some portamento, which is like I said before, sliding kind of sound, but it's not really drastic. You probably can't even notice. Just a little more dreamy. And on here I have a high pass and a low pass, so I just want a little bit of sound, right? I don't want, since especially in this track, since I have so many sounds going on, I don't want to pile up too much in one area. So that's why I'm doing a lot of high passes, low passes, just so everything kind of has its own little space. So yeah, again, you'll hear it with the whole thing. So it's really just adding emphasis on those beginnings of those chords, right? So yeah, I think that worked out pretty cool. It's got a lot of reverb, and it's compressed. Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't put a sidechain. I probably forgot, but it works. So now let's get down into the drums. All right, the drums are pretty crazy. So here's the drums by themselves. Alright, I heard something that I don't like, and I know exactly what it is. So we'll solve that problem here now. So on the kick, I could hear that there's some kind of, see this thing at the end of it? Oh, it has a, at the end. So I want to take that out. Maybe even more. Yeah, it's better. Okay, let's hear it now. Oh, yeah, sounds a lot better to me. That would have bothered me, and now I regret releasing the song so early. Okay, anyways. So we'll go down instrument by instrument. So it looks like I have 2 snares, a clap, kick, a snap, a crash, another crash, an open hat. Actually, these are all my hats in this. So I have 2 opens and 1 closed. And then I have a ride, a hat close, hat close, hat close, cymbal 1 and 2. Yeah, it's a lot of drums going on there. So we'll go step by step. Start with the first snare. And most of these samples are off the Lex Luger sample pack, that one. So yeah. So yeah, that's like the main snare right there. I didn't really do anything to it. It's like the bare bones snare. I just added reverb to it. So let's hear it without reverb. So you really hear how I kind of shape the sound with the reverb. It's a 1 second reverb, but 40%, which is a lot. So that's going to change the sound a lot. It's going to give it like a space, right? As you can tell with the dry one, it's super dry. Like it sounds like a straight drum machine from the 80s. But then you add this reverb, and that really adds to the space, especially since it's such an ambient track. Like I named it Math-sick Ambience. So in my mind, it was like really ambient, like a lot of sounds, a lot of background sounds and stuff going on. So adding the reverb kind of helped it blend in with the atmosphere of the song. So let's hear it. So you can just see that it all came together quite well, and not much to see on that snare. Let's see what the second snare is. I don't even know. So it's like a clap and a snare sample put together. I didn't do anything to it. It's just the bare bone sample, and then I added my reverb. So you can hear how both come together. Yeah, so a lot of times what I'll do when I'm creating drum racks and building, especially for these kind of songs where it's more like the drums are huge and really powerful, so I'll layer the snares, right? So right here what we have is we have a high pitch snare and a low pitch snare. High pitch and low. It's a lot lower, right? Not a lot, but it's a lower tone. So both of them together really makes a big fat snare. You have the high and the low end there. So pretty sure that's what I was thinking. Third one's gonna be the clap. Let's hear it without reverb. Sounds like a drum machine, right? Then with the reverb, sounds huge. Then with all the other snares. So with this track, there's obviously a lot of movement going on with the drums. Like there's so many cymbals and crap going on. So you can't really get lazy. You have to like really get creative. And what I did was I added this. It looks like I added the clap on every third snare. Boom. Right here in the middle of the measure. So that just gives it a lot more like movement. A lot of things are happening in the drums, as you can tell. Like when you listen to the drums as a whole. So you can see it's just adding like, different layers. Like I said, the more kind of elements you have randomly placed throughout the song, the more interesting it's going to sound to your ear. You can't have too many because then it's going to sound too crazy and your brain won't be able to follow it. But like if you have patterns like that, like how I have every third snare having a clap on top of it, it all starts, blending together in your mind. So what's on the clap? It was just reverb. That's it. Let's go to our kick. One kick, huh? So yeah, it's just a sample here. I didn't even transpose it or anything. Just a straight sample. I just added EQ. Without the EQ, let's see. Yeah, so especially when I have like that deep bass going on, that's probably why I added a high pass here and cut right here, just to give more space for the bass line, and also just to tame the kick because you don't want to have too much bass in your track, right? So yeah, pretty simple there. Boom. See what this snap is. So it's just like an ambient sound that I threw in there that sounded good and it went with the track, Put through a bunch of reverb on it. I transposed it one little step, but nothing major. Just a bunch of reverb, 4.5 seconds, and yeah. So you can tell most of these drums, besides the kick, you don't really want reverb on bass. But probably all these drums are going to have reverb just because of the style of the song. So we got the 2 crashes. Regular samples. I don't think you guys want to hear crashes on solo. Oh shit. Yeah, that would get annoying. Let's go to our hats. It's really interesting. I get like when I make this kind of drum pattern, I drink a lot of coffee and I just go crazy. So we're gonna have to look at it in the MIDI clip to see what, try to understand. Yeah, so what I do for this a lot is put this freaking drum thing on loop and I drag in, I just go to here, Lex Luger, boom. Alright, go to and then I just start listening to sounds while I'm playing the song in the background. See which ones I hear that go with the track and I start dragging them into the drum rack. Right? Just drag them into the drum rack. And then I started building. So I probably started with this one. Just a basic, straight across the board. You could hear it in this. And then I started building on top of that. So I add little in-betweens and just on a loop, right? So let's keep it sounding, add them in between parts, wherever. It's not really random, but each one has like their own little rhythm and pattern. So let's go one by one. So hat open, let's see. So it's, let's see, right there on 1.4, and it'll probably be over here again, 5 point, whoa, no, 4.4, 6.4. So every 2 measures, it's on the fourth beat, right? So that's the pattern to that. Boom, boom, boom. So then if we go with the hat closed, it's probably going to be this pattern at the beginning, break down into that. Yeah, as you can see, like if you really sit and break this down, I don't think you guys want me to because that'll be boring. But there is a pattern here, and there's things changing just to keep the drum beat alive and more interesting. Like I don't want it to be just this first bar over and over because that's going to be boring. So if we watch it. So what I think will be interesting to look at here is this hat closed 8, because I know that has a cool effect going on it. Hat closed 8, where's that bad boy at? What is this? There it is. So this has an auto pan going on it, right? So it sets 1/16th note at 57%. So if you listen to this one by itself, you can hear what the auto pan's doing. Right now it's on the left. So when those fast 16th notes hit, it's going to go, each hit's going to be on a different side. So it's going to be like ta, 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 but it's fast. So listen again. It's all on the left. When it starts speeding up, it's going to be on both sides. And I really like doing that in these kind of songs. Just gives more space for the drums and it gives, wider sound. And I just like how that sounds, honestly. So yeah, that's it for the hats. They're pretty much dry altogether. Boom, this is the sub mix. Just have reverb on them. Cymbals, no biggie there. And yeah, what is that? I don't think I used that drum rack. Yeah, so that's it for the drums, right? One other thing I might want to point out is this ride. I like doing this a lot, is putting it at every 2. 1.2, 1.4, 2.2, 2.4, and it kind of just drives the drum beat along. Watch, you can hear it. Just listen for this ride. Kind of just there on the upbeat, chilling, doing its thing, and it keeps the drum pattern driving along. So that's it for that. Let's look at our master bus chain, right? So if you've seen my tutorials before, you'll know this trick that I like to do in my intros. Oops, I'm soloed. So what I have is, this is how I'll do it, right? Is I'll drag a utility, let's see, utility into here. I think it's Control F. No, what is it? Or no, it's just right click, then group, Control G. Boom. So now it becomes this audio effect rack, right? The same one we have there. I'll turn it off, turn my automation on. So, boom. Right, why isn't it showing? That's weird. Huh. Well, it'll show here. So yeah. So there's my automation, right? So I made it to only be on for the intro part right here up to the 16th measure. So what it's doing is I have the width down to 24%. I brought the gain down and I have a high pass filter. So it's going to be very little low end and it's going to be a lot more mono in the middle and the level's going to be lower. So we'll see what happens when we hit this cliff right here. It's going to really kick into the song. you could hear the effect that it has. It's kind of like a drop, like it just all the bass comes in, everything widens up, and just becomes the song. And kind of like get, I guess, hopefully. So after that, we have a compressor, just keeping things constant, and then we have the Fab Pro limiter. So let's see what that's doing. Let's get over basically what that's doing is just making it louder. It's my bootleg way of mastering, quote unquote. I just smashed the shit out of it. Added 12 dB of gain until it sounded not completely like shit, but it was loud. And yeah, that's how we got there. That's pretty much going to be it for this tutorial, I think. You can find this song on Spotify under WeAreMachines Versions of You, it's called. And if you guys have any more suggestions of what kind of tutorials I can make, I have plenty of time, and now I have a decent setup where it'll be a lot easier. I recently lost my job as a live audio engineer, and due to the whole coronavirus thing, so I'm just trying to build upon what I had laid down before, and hopefully keep this channel alive and growing. And if I could help you guys out in the meantime, I know a lot of people are home making music. Hopefully this helps you out and keeps you inspired. All right, thanks guys.